across the US, people are dismantling and destroying flock surveillance cameras. So I guess it's kind of a feel good story for today. They said last week in La Mesa, which is a small city just east of San Diego, California, observers happened upon a pair of destroyed flock cameras. One had been smashed and left on the median, the other had key parts removed. The destruction was obviously intentional and appears perhaps even staged to leave a message. It came just weeks after the city decided, in face of public protest, to continue its contracts with the surveillance company Flock. We've done a lot of stories about Flock on this show. We've thankfully been seeing cities cancel their contracts, but we've definitely seen a lot of cities renew them or set up new contracts. And people are rightfully upset about it because it's a huge invasion of privacy and just a way for the government to implement the mass surveillance state. It seems like a lot of protests in the San Diego area are going on here against Flock, and that has escalated to sabotage against the equipment itself. But I think, at the very least, the outrage that people are feeling about this technology is very justified for sure.
I hope it goes without saying that we are not advocating for destroying property or anything like that, but it's really messed up that this is happening specifically in places where people have turned out in the sense of like gone to like city council meetings and stuff and very explicitly overwhelmingly said we don't want this. And the city was like, well, we're going to do it anyway. One thing worth mentioning real quick is this isn't just in San Diego. They said this has been happening in at least 5 states, including, where was it? Like Oregon, Virginia, I think Arizona, Georgia. They link to NPR. That is a good link to go read. It talks about how a lot of other places have thankfully been able to get these removed peacefully, but they also go in to talk about a lot of it's a really long article, but it's totally worth the read. And they talk about how politicians, like a lot of them were basically just not really reading the contract. Like I think they talked about one
unaware of
place.
the problems.
Exactly. Like they talked about one place. I can't remember where it was, but there was one place where they're like, oh, yeah, police can access the data. Also, so can the feds. And everybody's like, wait, what? Really? And it's like, yeah, did you not read what this entails? And
I'm glad you mentioned that NPR article because I did read that a week ago and it is a very good article. This vandalism story, I don't know if that has led to any change, but that NPR article definitely shows that people protesting and people just informing their city government or whatever politicians are involved of the facts of these situations is actually effective at getting rid of Flock in a lot of areas. And I think that protesting this stuff and informing people about the facts are both super important if this is happening in your community because it does make a difference. It's unfortunate that this stuff has to happen in the first place. You would hope that politicians would be a bit more competent about this stuff because it is their only job. But what can you do? Right?
yeah, and I get it. Politicians, they're not experts, right? Like nobody's an expert on everything, which is why they're supposed
No.
to consult with experts. But the problem is like a lot of the time they don't know that the people that they're talking to are salespeople who are lying to them.
Yeah.
And so, when somebody comes in and they're like, we're going to stop crime and we're going to do all this awesome, cool, noble stuff. And it's like, dude, come on. Like, where I'm going is, they don't know the other side of it where it's like, yeah, but what's your error rate? How often is this wrong? It doesn't work well on people of color. Why is it spying on children? How long are you recording the data? Why isn't it secured? Like, they don't know the questions to ask. And that's one of the reasons that I think we need to get more involved in this stuff.
I mean, when I say like it's the politician's only job, I don't mean like it's their only job to know everything about everything, but it is their only job to like be able to
Yeah.
suss out who's an expert and who's not, and they are shockingly bad at doing so. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, I agree. You would think they would do more due diligence. Like I know they're busy, but come on, man.
Yeah.